Gathered here today for the Kavod Acharon to pay our final respects to Eleanor Freemer, Liba Basimcha. We'll begin with the recitation of the Tehillim. Ashrei ha'Ish asher lo halach b'atzas rishoyim u'v'derech chatoim lo amad u'v'moshav eitzim leitzim lo yashav ki im b'saras hadinoi chevtzo u'v'saras ha'yega yamam v'loyla v'haya k'eit shosol al palgi moyim asher piryo yiten b'yito v'aleo lo yibol v'chol asher yasa yatzliach lochein harishoyim ki im kamot asher tzidfen ruach al kein lo yakum harishon v'amishpat v'chatoim badas tzadikim ki yodei adinoi derech tzadikim v'derech yishoim toved mizmol David Adonai miyagu be'olecha mi yishkon b'har kodshecha holech tamim b'foil tzedek v'dover emes bilvavo lo ragal al lishono lo asel re'eyu ra'ah v'cherpo lo nasa al krovo nivze be'enav nimmatz v'es yirei Adonai yechabed nishbar lo harav lo yomer kaspo lo nasan b'neshech v'shochad al noki lo lakach oseyele lo yimot li'olam mizmor l'David Adonai roi lo echsa b'nos deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yina leini nafshi yeshov v'gancheni b'maglei tzedek l'man shemo gam ki yelech b'gei tzalmaves lo ira ro ki ato imodi shivdcho mishantecha hema yinachamuni taroch lefonai shulcha neged tzoreroi dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya Achto v'chesed yedufuni kol yimei chayoi v'shavti b'veis Adonai l'yorech yamim. The Song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's namesake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. Yesterday, we read Parshas Vayigash, yesterday's Torah portion. We read about the dramatic story where Joseph finally reveals himself to his brothers. The Torah tells us, Vayome Yosef alecha v'ani Yosef. Joseph says to his brothers, I am Joseph, ha'od avichai. Is our father still alive? V'lo yachlu echav la'anu so. And he could not answer, ki navhalu mipanav. They were swept away, they were so overwhelmed. They were so embarrassed, they couldn't answer. They couldn't respond. And the next verse says, Vayome Yosef el Echav. Joseph says to his brothers, Geshuna Elai, come near me. Vayigoshu, and they came near. And Joseph says to them, Ani Yosef achichem asher mechartem osi Mitzrayma. I am Joseph, your brother, who you sold to Egypt. And the commentators deal with the two verses. In the first verse, he says, I am Joseph, your brother. He repeats it again in the second verse, but this time he adds, who you sold to Egypt. And the Dasekenu Mibali Atosvis, a very early commentary, tells us that Joseph did not want to embarrass the brothers in front of Benjamin, in front of the brother Benjamin. For Benjamin was not aware that the brothers had sold him to Egypt. So therefore, what did he do? He first says to them, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. And they can't respond. And then the next verse, he says, Geshuna Elai, come close to me. He wanted them to go away from Benjamin, come close to him, leave Benjamin on the side. And then he said, I am Joseph, who you sold to Egypt. I was thinking, reading this, imagine the sensitivity that Joseph had. Imagine the tension in the room. Sages tell us that when the brothers heard that it was their brother Joseph, they actually died. They perished. They couldn't handle it. And a miracle happened and they were revived. Imagine the embarrassment they went through. And we know that Joseph had sent out the Egyptians, so they shouldn't hear. And he knew he was putting his life in danger. And with all that tension, excitement in the room, what was his concern? That the brothers who sold him shouldn't be embarrassed in front of Benjamin. He was able to have that frame of mind, that sensitivity, such incredible midos, such incredible character traits, to be able to be like that. Having good midos, good character traits, seem to be going out of style. We look at the world today, where so many just look out for themselves. The edelkeit and refinement from days of old seem like old memories. Eleanor, though she lived in the same world as all of us, with the same changes all around us, refused to adapt to the times, always keeping her grace and dignity. Eleanor was an amazing person with beautiful character traits. One of them was her humility. She never viewed herself as someone with great talents, yet she was incredibly talented. She was a writer, a painter. She sewed beautiful clothes for her children, took over the accounting for her husband when it was necessary. She wrote beautiful and astonishing poetry. I read some of them. Ritzel of Volozhiner writes in the introduction of Nefesh HaChaim, written by his father, Reb Chaim Volozhiner, that his father would constantly say, constantly say, that we are put in this world not for ourselves. We are placed here to help others. Her entire life was about others, not herself. She lived for her family and for others. She loved everyone, and in response, everyone loved her, not just her family. As Mati told me last night, she was a giver, never a taker. Even if the grandchildren wouldn't ask, she would always give. That was her personality, always looking for ways to give, constantly giving, and never looking for herself. She viewed herself as an introvert, yet when she go to the supermarket, it would take at least an hour for her to leave, since all of the workers there had to give her a hug before she left. Eleanor will be sorely missed by everyone who knew her. She leaves a beautiful family. Her children, Nadine, Marcy and Marty, Philip and Karen. She leaves grandchildren, Simcha and Randy Lazarus, Miriam and Shimon Simpson, Mati Bonner, who was very close with her grandmother, living in Atlanta with her for about a year, Chani Bonner, Odelia Bonner, Rena Karen, Tzvi and Chaviva Karen, Aaron and Olivia Karen, and Nadav Karen. And I had written, when preparing for today, that she had 10 great-grandchildren, but I was told now that she has 11 great-grandchildren. Mazel tov. Her entire family loved her so much. Her nieces and nephews, Natalie and Joel Fox, Barbara and Bill Winters, Janice Singleton, and Sandy Leon. Yeh zichra baruch. Yeh zichra bracha. I'd like to call up Nadine now to say a few words.
Restless by Eleanor Freemer. It's time for me to move on, free and light like the leaves sailing off from the dogwood trees that now stand naked in the autumn breeze, vulnerable to the first frost and snow. I too must blow along the winter-cluttered lane, fragile, brittle, rolling in pain, like a stone scuffed by the wind, washed by the rain, always on the go. Do you see me? A ghost, a bone, crouched in an oyster's deserted shell to hide from nature's roiling furies outside, wrapped in my own private hell inside, washed by the changing tides alone. Hear me come, an old jalopy, squealing with every twist and turn of the road, a wheel stiff from summer's burn and winter's ice, my heart a broken churn, finding no resting place for me. Pile up the vines that cling to broken walls and summer grass, rake them up for a bonfire so I can pass in light through winter's silver and autumn's brass, into one more spring. This poem is from Pieces of the Tapestry, a collection of stories and poems published in 1994 by Mom and her two friends, Elizabeth Bowers and Helen Toulis of blessed memory. The three of them spent 2 happy years promoting the book on local Atlanta TV and newspapers, doing book signings at synagogues and Elizabeth's Baha'i Temple, and they actually broke even and sold almost every copy. The title reflects Mom's life, which was a tapestry woven with shimmering threads, bright colors, and a few somber undertones. Mom was a poet and essayist. Over the years, her work appeared in the Jewish Exponent and Jewish Action magazine, among other publications. She was an artist who painted in the Impressionist style of Maurice Utrillo. She was a computer nerd who loved nothing more than discovering a new way to rotate photos of her grandchildren on her desktop. She was a remarkable cook and baker. In 1972, she won the Jewish Times cooking contest with her apple cake, a recipe she generously shared with anyone who asked for it, but no one else has ever tasted as good as hers did. In 2014, Elizabeth compiled a collection of Mom's writing and published All My Pretty Roses through Amazon Push to Publish. It's still available in both paperback and Kindle versions. 6 months later, Mom received a $12 royalty check, and I don't think $1 million could have made her happier. Because of the creative thread that ran through her life, she wanted her children to follow her dreams. She supported my writing career. She encouraged my sister Marcy, who Mom always said had golden hints, to pursue her crafting and calligraphy. She loved the music of my brother's flute, although he had to take a day job at KPMG. My dad wanted us all to be accountants. Mom always regretted not having the opportunity to go to college. She did have an unofficial college education when Dad attended LaSalle College at night after they married. While he concentrated on the accounting, she wrote his English and history papers. One time he upbraided her about a paper she wrote, insisting she had not understood the reading material. It came back with an A scrawled on it and a note from the professor saying, "Excellent, I see you have a wonderful grasp of the subject." But the brightest thread in my mom's tapestry was love. As my son Mati said to me, "Mommy loved you without asking for anything back," and it was true. She loved her family dearly, but her affection flowed over family and acquaintances. Whether she lived in Philadelphia or Atlanta, she had a devoted auto mechanic who would move her to the front of the line whenever she had a problem. We had doctors making house calls long after most stopped doing that because of their affection for her and the cookies she baked to reward them. When I was in high school, my friends would drop by the house whether I was home or not to talk to Mom, to share their problems and ask her advice. Mom spent her life giving to others. She left her job as a reporter in York when my bubby got sick. She took care of Bubby Goldstein, who suffered from leukemia, and brought her to stay with us for the final weeks of her life. When my daughter Sarah was losing her battle with cancer, Mom sat by her side and was with her until her final day. She cared for my dad with support from home hospice and with great strength and tenderness. As giving as she was, it was very difficult for her to accept help from others. If she was out of milk or soap or her favorite peanut butter, she would never call me. "I don't want to bother you," she would say. I would have to check her shelves to make sure she had supplies. I pointed out she had taken care of me for 20 years, and when I was a baby, she had not dropped me on the floor and said, "Okay, kid, take care of yourself." She never complained, which made it difficult to determine if something was wrong. As late as last week, when she was in the hospice at the Abramson Center, she spoke with her friend Elizabeth on the phone. When Elizabeth asked how she was, Mom said, "Oh, I'm fine." And if you didn't know that she had just come out of the hospital after a life-threatening bout with pneumonia, you would think she really was fine. But she was ready to go. She was frustrated by a mind that was no longer sharp and a body that no longer did her bidding. Last Sunday, she spoke with my daughters, Hani and Simcha, in Israel via a video chat. Her great-granddaughter, Yocheved, played Hanukkah songs on the flute. Her great-grandsons wished her a happy Hanukkah. After the call, she closed her eyes and went to sleep. 2 days later, she was still sleeping. I spent 3 hours with her Tuesday night, and she never woke up. We watched Jeopardy, the only TV show she ever watched, together, and I sat and held her hand. Several hours after I left, she slipped away. I know it's a cliche to say that Mom will always be with us, but sometimes things become cliche because they're true. Every time I hear the strains of her favorite opera, Tosca, or the Jeopardy theme song, or eat a peanut butter cracker, Mom will be with me. She will always be a part of me and my sister and brother, her nieces, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. She leaves behind a legacy of life and love. She wove a tapestry of great beauty that will hang in our hearts forever. Her memory will be a blessing for all of us who loved her.
I'd ask Marcia to come up.
In 1984, due to a series of unfortunate events, Marty, Rena, and I found ourselves in Atlanta. Speaker was born there, and we actually lived with Mom and Pop through the first month. While we were always intending to return to Israel, due to another series of unfortunate events, that didn't happen. But it was fortunate in the fact that our children grew up very close to their grandparents. Mommy and Pop went to every recital, swim meet, class play, award ceremony, graduation, whatever.
But it was fortunate in the fact that our children grew up very close to their grandparents. Mommy and Pop went to every recital, swim meet, class play, award ceremony, graduation. Whatever the kids did, Mommy and Pop were there to root them on. And they loved spending time with Mommy and Pop. And each of my children have a very close bond with their grandparents. And when Pop was gone, they did not want Mommy to be lonely, even though she had plenty of friends. So when Svika got his driver's license one evening a week, he would take his brothers and they would go to spend time with Mommy. After Aroni got his, they split up their time to eventually each had their special evening alone with Mommy. Mom had lots of friends in Atlanta because she liked to talk to people. To this day, when I go to the grocery, not only do the people who work there, but other customers ask about her. When she came back to Philadelphia, she said to me, "You know, the people here aren't as friendly." Several years ago, Marty, I and my mother-in-law were taking a walk in the mall, and Mom asked me what we wanted to do. I told her that we wanted to go back to Israel, and at this point, it was just me, Coco, and Marcy living in the house. But not to worry, we would not leave her. That got her thinking, and she decided to go back to Philadelphia. She has been telling me for many years that I am no good and people live too long, and last week during Hanukkah, she let her spark go out, gracefully in her sleep, the way we would all like to go. We will miss her terribly, and my children are devastated. But we all got to say goodbye in the last few weeks via technology, or in Rena's case, in person. She knows that she was loved, and one day, Baruch Hashem, in Olam Haba, we will see her again.
I'd ask Rena to come up.
So, I've always prided myself on my close relationship with my grandmother. She was such a close part of my life as long as I can remember. And I already miss her so much. But she wouldn't want me to be sad because the only thing she wanted in life was for me to be happy. And one of the most special memories is back when her and Pop had taken me to see The Princess Bride when I was 7, and we saw it in the theater when it first came out. And it's been my favorite movie ever since. And just like the famous line in the movie, "As you wish," Mommy would always tell me that whenever I would ask for anything or talk to her, she would just say, "As you wish." She never bought herself much or wanted much for herself, but she always wanted to make sure her grandchildren had everything that they've always wanted. She used to make me peanut butter Rice Krispie treats, and she'd make them by the freezer full. And whenever I'd come back to Atlanta, she would give me bags and bags of them to take back with me. And I would share them with my friends and my coworkers, and they would always ask me, well, can your grandmother send some more? They weren't fancy desserts or much, but they were made with her love, and that made them very special. She would also make personal cards for us, and she'd write poetry and print out cards on her computer, and she would send them for Hanukkah, for birthdays, or just to cheer you up if you were down. And she knew exactly what to say, and one of the cards I have kept all the cards, and one of them that she sent me, "Happy birthday, Rena, the smartest looking girl in all the world. Her shape is curvy, her eyelashes are curled. Her eyes are like diamonds, her teeth like pearls. She doesn't look like any of your ordinary girls. The picture of my granddaughter is filled with love and joy. Now if only she can meet that one special boy. May this year you will find romance. I met your grandfather at a dance. If not, smile your great smile and have some fun. There is no one else like you under the sun. Love you always, Mommy." When I was younger, I had huge aspirations to be a famous fashion designer. And she always supported that. And when I moved to New York, she would tell me, "Don't get married, just take lovers," which I know my parents are not huge fans of. But that was Mommy, always being honest and supporting us and having us focus on our goals. And then when I was lonely, she would tell me that all she wanted was for me to find someone who loved me as much as she did and take care of me. And she always had that attitude, and she'd have, as my friends would say, mommyisms that I would come back and quote. When I lived in Atlanta, we would take regular trips to the mall, and we'd walk around, and we'd have lunch together. And I'd put on the radio in the car and sing along, and she would say, "Rena, you're beautiful and you're talented, but please don't sing in front of me." We always knew how much she loved us, and even when I visited her the other week, when she was weak, she still had her spark and her spunk with her. And my aunt and uncle would be telling stories of back, and she would be like, that neighbor. But she was still sharp, and I'll miss her smile and her eyes and her voice, but I have so many memories to keep her close.
Please rise for the Kilmoli. El Moli Rachamim Shechein Bamroimim Hamtzei Menucha Nechoina Al Kanpei Ashchina B'mahalois Kedoshim V'Tehoyim Kizoya Holikia Mazirem Es Nishmaz Liba Basimcha Shehol Chol Yolama Bavo Shanachnu Mispalim Badaskar Es Nishmasa V'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchasa L'chein Ba'al Rachamim Yasireha B'Seisa K'nafav L'Yolamim V'Yitzra B'Tzra Chaim Es Nishmasa Adonai Hu Nachalasa V'Sinach Bash B'Shalom Al Mishkava V'Namar Amen. This announcement, the Shiva is going to be. The Shiva will take place at the home of Nadine at 118 Montgomery Avenue in Ballackinwood. Shiva times are from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and from 6 to 9, and Friday until 1 o'clock when Shiva concludes.